Okay, hello everybody. Good morning, and we are having this is our 15th town hall meeting, and today we are actually do not have a guest to talk to today, but we thought it would be a really good time to discuss what's been going on with the program and what the structure of it looks like now, and how you can how you are participating in it. And there are people who are participating in different levels. So first of all, let me introduce everybody. So Juwon, good morning.
I'm muted.
There you go.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Excited to be here today. Yeah, we'll be going over the current project phase that's ongoing, as Mike mentioned, and we hope to be able to address any questions, concerns, and just any thing in general that you'd like to know about the project phase. And we also want to see how everybody's going on with the phase.
Great. And also joining us today is Seyi. So I guess good afternoon to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here again. We'll just be, like Juwon rightly said, we'll just be walking through the project phase and answering some questions you might have. So, yeah.
All right. So one thing I wanted to cover is just a little bit of background information, because I think some of our communication hasn't gotten to everybody for whatever reason. I've gotten some responses from people that they didn't know kind of what was happening, and it has frankly gotten a little bit more confusing because things have changed. So basically the way we designed the program, we originally, I think we're going to transition everybody into projects at like the third week in May, something around that time. And we found that there were still a lot of people who were not done with their coursework. And so we send out an announcement, and I think giving people until a June 5th deadline, which was like a couple weeks extension after the all the course material was actually delivered to everybody. So so a lot of people rallied and got their coursework completed. And I would say, just to give everyone a feeling for the number of people, like we had it's about 200 people, I think, is that right, in the project phase now?
Yeah, we are 196 right now.
Yeah. So congratulations to everybody. We started with about 1,000 people who were actively, on Slack, and looking like they were beginning the coursework. And we have had some attrition of people. So but we still have 200 people who are active and working on things. So thank you very much, and congratulations. So anyway, that June 5th deadline was to hopefully get you a chance to finish up the coursework, and the instructors could get your assignments graded and then promote you into one of these teams. So, but let me say that, our philosophy at Reskill Americans is like not wanting to like kick anyone out. We don't want to make anyone stop the program. If they are still committed to working and wanting to learn, we want to provide you some form of support and service. So like we have encouraged people who are still working on their coursework to please continue with that. And we are, Seyi has been, he's allocated a lot of, still resources to grading those assignments, answering questions from people on Slack and on the LMS. And so, if you are not finished with the coursework, you will still get a lot of benefit personally out of completing the coursework. And but we had to cut a deadline to say, like, because these projects are kind of team-based, the way we set them up, we had to set up a deadline to say, like, we got to form teams at some point. So the June 5th deadline was kind of the cutoff point for that. And Juwon and Seyi and I worked on kind of defining a bunch of sample projects, and the scope of those projects was to give you a good understanding of like what would go into a complete application, and to work with other of your teammates, and to kind of start to simulate a little bit more of like what it's like to work on real projects instead of just individually. So, frankly, I would say, the kind of working on that sort of environment is going to be really beneficial to people, maybe a lot more than just doing kind of coursework. So I do think it's like a really important part of our program. So anyway, why don't we why don't we kind of do you have anything else to say, Juwon, first before we kind of pass it off to Seyi to discuss more about the project phase? Oh, you're muted still.
Yeah, I think you've covered most of like, what I would have said. So I think, yeah, let's give it over to Seyi, and I'll also chime in regarding the project phase, some of the things that I've seen, but I think he should probably take the lead on that.
Okay. Yeah, so like I was saying, we started, we defined like several kind of sample projects. I think we ended up with something like 6 or 7 different ones, or I'm not sure now. But right now, as I understand it, we've had 16 different teams configured. And Seyi, why don't you talk about the process of how we picked the project kind of themes for each team, and what your intention was in kind of assigning people to the different project teams.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So I'm going to start from how we selected the project ideas. There was a time we requested for participants to, give us idea of the kind of projects they would like to build.
Yeah.
And then we selected those projects and kind of reduced the scope to make it easier for beginners, because we are focusing on beginners to achieve. So those are the projects we selected. We have about 6 projects right now. And for groups, we group participants based on their course, the course they did during the training, which is if you did Python, you will be grouped with other Python developers, so you can collaborate with them and work together on the project. We also made sure that everybody that will be doing the project will collaborate with other tracks. So you work with designers, you work with front-end developers if you're a back-end developer, you work with back-end developer if you're a front-end developer, and mobile developers too. One of the challenges we had was we didn't have enough designers, we didn't have enough mobile developers. So we had to compromise by making, so some teams don't have mobile developers, but every team has a designer at least. So that's how we came up with the teams. Right now we have 16 teams, like you rightly said. We have about 14 people in a team, thereabout. So what we also do is to assign a project manager, at least a project manager to each team. But we had to combine some teams. So a single project manager might be managing up to 3 teams for now. We have 2 project managers managing 3 teams, but most of them are just managing 2 teams. So that's what we have for project managers. Then there is a TS attached to each team. Each team should have at least 4 tiers attached to them, so that each of them covers different tracks. So you have somebody to reach out to regardless of your track. So right now on the project phase, if you are already in the project phase, you should have a connection with, I think, at least 5 people that can help you out when you need it. So that's how that works. When you need help with front-end issues, you can reach out to a front-end TS and they can help you with that. So far, we've been working on the project, although I must admit some are quite slow because of some of the challenges we'll be discussing here today. There was a mindset we had during the training phase, which is you can put it off and do it later. You can do it over the weekend. You can do it next week. But building a project is different. If you don't work on what you're supposed to do, then the entire team would have something delaying their work. So we just need to find a way to shift the mindset of people, making them understand that when it comes to working with a team, you can't just stop working. You have to focus on the fact that, okay, if I don't deliver this thing, it's going to delay the entire project. And this is how it actually works in the real life. I think everybody knows that. If you are working in a team, you have to consider what others are going to work on, who is depending on you to deliver on your own duties to be able to move forward. So that's one of the challenges we've been having. People say, oh, I can't touch it right now, I'll do it next week. And because we have a timeline for the project, the project is supposed to be for 8 weeks. Right now we are on 3rd week. And I must say, we are not moving fast enough. So
okay,
we are trying to find a way to make things go faster. Assigning the only problem we now have right now is it seems a lot of people that are available get a lot more tasks than those who are not available. I mean, that was the only solution we come up with. But it might not be good enough, since if you complete the project, you are considered a graduate, and that means whatever you did during the project, you should be able to do somewhere else. So if you don't get enough tasks assigned to you now, it might be a little bit of a challenge when you start working with actual companies and teams. So I just want to encourage everyone, if you could put in 2-3 hours every day, I know it can be stressful, just try to squeeze in the time to work on a few things that you have been assigned to work on. Okay.
All right, let's talk a little bit about, because I think you're making a really good point, and there is kind of a transition of just like the way this program is working, the way we need to work together, and I think one of the keys to our success, or will be the cause of our failure, will be communication. So let's talk about communication, a little bit of the time zone issues, how things should be working, or how we can make things work, because we do have like different people in different time zones, different availabilities, and some people are, frankly, some people are working, and we want to encourage, a means of working together that allow people to still, like if they need some flexibility in their work hours, working on the program, that they can still be working, which I think we can. So as I understand it, we've had some, well, first of all, let's talk about the transition kind of from Slack plus the LMS, which were and email. So like that's the way we were communicating with everyone in the first phase. You would get messages on Slack, you'd have groups on Slack, can ask questions on Slack. Then we had, when we introduced more and more of the LMS, some people are using messaging on the LMS, and we would send announcements that would kind of come out through the LMS. And then, but we've added a couple of new tools, or a couple new major tools for communication, and those are Asana and GitHub. And so every team is using those two new tools as well. And that, I think those are kind of more the primary means of communication, or how is that working? How do LMS plus Asana and GitHub, how are most teams using those, or how do you expect them to be used?
Okay, so we had to move away from the LMS because, I don't think any company out there manages projects with LMS.
No, that's true.
Yeah, so we needed people to understand how companies actually work. So we moved away from the LMS. So for those in phase 2 now, you should not be using the LMS anymore. I mean, you have account there, you can go back there to check any available course to refresh yourself. But when it comes to working on projects, the tool we have chosen is Asana. And we chose Asana because it seems to be one of the easiest project management tools out there to understand. It has a nice interface. It has a desktop application and a mobile application. So you can always keep in touch with your team wherever you are. So yeah, that's why we chose Asana. So for everyone in phase 2 now, your communication should mostly be on Asana. You can chat on Slack, maybe with other teams, because on Asana, you only have access to your own team members. So on Slack, you can reach out to other teams and communicate with them, ask for advice, find out what is happening on their own project and so on. But when it comes to discussing your own project, we expect you to use Asana because we want everything to be available on that tool for everyone who is in your team to have access to it. So that when you have a meeting, they record it and upload it on Asana. So right now you're expected to use Asana for communication and for keeping track of your task, for delivering your task, for getting feedback, and so on. We are also using Figma for design. Every designer shall have a Figma account. So we expect to design on Figma and then send a link to Asana for whoever is supposed to be working on it to have access to it. And for the project managers and the TS to give feedback on your design. Coders are using GitHub for collaboration. So GitHub, like you already know, is just a place for you to store your code, for others to have access to, and for the TS to check it and give feedback before actually combining your work to the main repo. So those are the tools we are using now for phase 2. Yeah.
And I would say that's something new for most of the participants. You know, the new wrinkle of GitHub, you know, managing pull requests so that they're going to have their own copy of the repo, and then having pull requests being merged into the main tree. So working out that is like, how does that work? And you know, that is something I expect is new for everybody. Oh, one thing I would go back a step. You talked about having 5 people each team to talk to. Like, so I had understood that there'd be like a program manager and a technical assistant or sometime for each team. That's 2. What were you saying 5? Just because you've mixed multiple people in each group?
Yeah. So yes, because we have multiple tracks in each group. So
I see.
You have one person assigned to your own track. So for example, for the wildfire team, they are using Python, Flutter, and I think front end. So at least they have access to take people that way.
Oh, I see. So someone from your track who
Yes.
and a mentor from who knows about the technology your track was based on. You can get technical help from them. Yeah. Okay, great. Anyway, so I interrupted you. So I just
so I think I also wanted to say that, you know, I know the transition seemed a little sharp because we didn't really give people enough time to get to understand how those tools work. But we also try as much as possible to make, you know, courses available on the LMS for you to, you know, check them and see how you can use each of those tools. When it comes to PRs, submitting pull requests and, you know, effective collaboration on GitHub, I assigned somebody. Okay, I think I have 2 right now, but I assigned somebody who's going to be providing support when it comes to managing database connections, deploying on the server, and merging PRs. I expect that at a point, he's going to explain how those things work thoroughly to everybody, and occasionally ask you to go in there and do it yourself. But for now, he's still handling everything. It's handling everything, and, you know, merging the PRs and giving comments on PR. But a time will come when we assign somebody on the team and say, you can do it. Just this is how to do it. This is what to do when you have a merge conflict and how to solve those merge conflicts. Yeah.
That because that is like another layer of responsibility, kind of, because you have your whole team, like, you know, the code quality, you know, the completeness of the code, and things like that. You know, managing that for the team. That's what the whole team will see. And so yeah, you know, if you're a new employee at a company, you know, you wouldn't be immediately like expected to be modifying the main line of the repository on your own without anyone reviewing it. So this is very much like if you would join a company, you know, there's be a process for accepting your code into the repository, getting it reviewed, you know, hopefully running some tests, and then integrating that into the project when it's ready. So, yeah, so it's a little bit of like sausage making, you know, kind of seeing how things work in real life, you know, and it can get a little complicated. It's not quite as you know, always like straightforward. It's just like everything's just going to go boom, 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 boom straight through. Anyway, that's good. And I think one thing I wanted to just clarify, are there any Slack channels that were set up for teams, or no? We use Asana for everything?
Yeah, right now it's just Asana. We're not using Slack for Teams communication.
Okay.
You know, so stakeholders can also see what is being said in Teams.
Yeah, there is a channel on Slack that is for those that were invited to phase 2. There is a phase 2 channel, but I guess that was just to get people introduced to like how they can get bootstrapped on the other tools.
Yes, and an opportunity for them to interact with other teams. Like I said, on Asana, you only have access to your own team. So if you wanted to know who is in other teams, you can check on the phase 2 channel on Slack. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about you? So you said like we're having kind of a slow start in getting stuff working. Maybe we can. What are the challenges that you think most of the teams are having now? And do you have any recommendations for change? We're kind of doing this a little bit on the fly, Shay. Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. But if you have some ideas about like how things are going, and we want to be really transparent with everybody. And so just what are you thinking about that now?
Okay. So like I said, one of the main issue we have right now is the transition. People are used to, it's just me. I'll do the course when I have the time. I would complete the assignment when I have the time. But now you need to consider other members of the team, consider the project, the outcome of the project, and consider how it will affect others if you don't deliver on what's assigned to you. So that's one of the main challenges we are having right now. People needing to work faster than they are used to. And usually their assigned tasks carry days. So there's no one that will assign a task and attach hours to it, unlike a real working environment where you get is a task and you get hours to deliver them sometimes anyway. So right now, what I think we can do, what I think every participant can do is to find a way to squeeze in, 1-2 hours per day. If you are very busy with work and busy with other things, family and other engagements, I think you need to find a way to squeeze in 1 or 2 hours per day to get something done. It will be encouraging to your team members. If you say, oh, I'm very busy right now, I'm doing this, but I can squeeze in 30 minutes to just complete one minor thing for today, and I'll do another 31 hour tomorrow so that I can make sure that my team is moving forward. I think it will be encouraging to the project manager, encouraging to the TS, encouraging to the other team members to, as busy as this person is, he or she is still trying to put in much effort to make sure the project moves forward. So that's what I think each person can do.
Okay.
Yeah,
it seems to me like I know the kind of the dynamic that will happen in is like the team cohesion, like having this group of people that are assigned together to really feel like a team and know each other and work together. So I wonder if we shouldn't have like a Slack channel for each team so that they can actually have random kind of communications without. Does Asana allow, so forgive my ignorance on this, does Asana allow kind of like a chat room, or is it all like task-based issue tracking things?
Yeah, it does. It has a chat room, has a private messaging feature. You can just.
Oh, great. Okay. So you can chat with your team members or pop in and say, hey, is anybody else on right now? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And do that with Asana?
Yes, you can. And we also have groups on Asana where, there is a group for Node.js developers where you can just interact with other Node.js developers in your team. Yes.
Well, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, I think we should just remain on Asana and not,
okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I was not aware of that part of Asana. I hadn't used that myself before. So forgive that, my ignorance on that. So that sounds like really good. Like, I think that's really important for everybody. I know everyone has different work schedules, and as far as time zones, your mentors and TAs are 7 hours ahead or well, between 4 and 7 hours ahead of your time zone or something like that from US time zones. But so generally earlier in the morning is probably better way of, if you're communicating with them in the morning, that they are going to be also overlapping with us here in the US. So but yeah, I mean, that sounds good. And I think the one question I have, and I think, and some of I'm looking at some of the comments coming in here, is like, one thing to be concerned about is that we, since we will have people who are like, not not necessarily keeping up or not able to, complete their part of the project. So, and we don't want someone who is actually, active, working hard, doing their part, we don't want them to fail because of somebody else not completing their tasks. So, I hope everyone just kind of takes some responsibility to say, like, can you commit to working on the part that you've been assigned to? And it sounds like what you've been doing, Seyi, is to just say, like, some people are doing more than others. And so some people don't get assigned tasks that are as critical path as others. Is that right?
Yeah, we had to do that at some point. Although we've also had people that decided to kind of leave the program because they feel like they don't want to be the reason why others will fail. I mean, I didn't like the idea. I try as much as possible to make them stay, but I think maybe 2-3 people have done that now. I don't like it, but
I don't like that either. It's like, we don't want to be putting, it's not a question of, it's interesting. We're not trying to put pressure on anybody.
Yeah,
we don't want you to feel like, oh, this team's depending on me, so I can't be here. Like, I think everyone can contribute. And even if you're like, maybe you don't think your skills are quite up to the level, like maybe you can, pair off with someone else and work with them to work together on some things. So
it's yeah, and in addition to that, one other thing you can do, I mean, for whoever is listening to this and feeling like quitting because you feel like the pressure is too much, you can request for a call with a TS who would spend time with you to see what the problem is. And you can also divide whatever task you've been given, just maybe request for a smaller task if you feel like, oh, this is too much for me. I think that might be a better option than, just saying, oh, I'm leaving because it's too much. I think you can request for a smaller task or ask for a breakdown of that task. In the end, you realize that it's probably something you can undo. You just need, a little time to understand what it's meant to be done. Because if you had gone through the training phase, there is nothing in the project phase you will not be able to undo. You just need a little bit of help, breaking it down, explaining how to get the answers that you need, and possibly spending time on a call. So I just wanted to say that if you are feeling pressured right now, please don't leave. We don't want you to leave. We want you to stay and complete the program. We are also available to answer your questions. If you don't get responses quick enough, like Mike said, because of time difference, it's possible you don't get responses when you need them. Please, you can mention my name in Asana and I'll get somebody to respond to you quickly.
Thank you, Seyi. Yeah, I have talked to some participants who said, like, for example, they were given an assignment to do something, but they just didn't understand, like, because of the terminology that we use, they didn't understand exactly what was meant. And it did take a while before they were able to kind of do the multiple round trips to kind of explain. Yeah, so maybe getting on a video call or something would be, I mean, if you're in that loop, where like you have a question, you don't feel like it's getting answered, having a real-time discussion with the TA would be really good to help maybe get you unstuck and to figure out exactly what is being asked of you. So okay. So we're sitting here like in supposedly the third week of the project phase, but not as much progress as we had hoped on some of the projects. Is that, and then so I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna. We want to get these projects completed. We've been cutting down maybe scope of projects to make sure that people can complete them. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So if people start leaving teams, because some people will, we've had attrition in the beginning of the program, and we might continue to have a little bit more attrition of people now. What is the plan going to be? Are we going to like merge teams together, or if a team gets too small at some point, to continue on with just the people who are there, or with maybe they lose a critical member, like maybe they lose all the back end people and they only have front end developers. Do we have a plan for that, or is that something we're just going to kind of figure out as we go along?
Okay, I don't think that will happen.
Okay. Maybe I'm just
but no,
I'm
if it does happen,
projecting my worst fears.
So right now, what we did was, for example, a designer from a team left. She didn't inform us early enough that she was leaving, so we didn't even know she had left the program. So what we did was we got a designer from another team who was done with the assigned task and asked that designer to work on with the other team, which is fine. I mean, there is cross-department collaboration in companies, so we started doing that recently. If we need you from your team and you are doing well, can ask you to help other teams out. So that's a temporary solution for members leaving teams, critical members leaving teams. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess if it worst comes to worst, we will deal with it in some way. And it is possible, maybe that someone will have to be transferred to another team or lent out to another team to help them complete their tasks. So, okay, great. Well, do we want to transfer a little bit over to like Q&A? I don't know, Juwon, if you've been monitoring any of the questions, or Seyi,
Yes.
Before we start that, Seyi, is there anything else you wanted to say specifically about the program now, or?
Yeah, I also wanted to say that maybe you've noticed, to participants now, maybe you've noticed that some of the PMs are quite, I'm going to say, passionate about their projects. That's how project managers work. They want the projects delivered. And that's why we intentionally brought in project managers to give you a feel of how they behave, even in companies. Project managers are usually people that wanting to deliver no matter what is going on in your life. So we just decided to do that so you have an idea of how it works. If you feel like any of them is becoming too aggressive, please just reach out to me. I can always caution them or assign you to another person who would have a better way of communicating. But I noticed I got a few people sending me messages that some of them are applying pressure a lot, and it happens that way. And I must also prepare your mind for the internship phase. It's a little more intense than this, but you can handle it. You don't have to leave the program. We are always there to support you. Yeah, that's
okay. That is good. And I think we've also, we've addressed in the past that there are just kind of like personality differences between people, and things like that. And so we're kind of starting to simulate, more and more like what a real life situation is. And there is kind of pressure and so on, but we are, just know that behind all of that is our goal to support people to learn and to be able to, work in this industry. And, but we don't want to definitely cause anyone trauma or to be unduly stressed out about their project. But the fact is, there are other people depending on you as well. So, it's a balance, and but we're all here together to learn, and hopefully, everyone has the feeling that they are supported. And please just talk to us if you feel, like you say, if someone got too aggressive with you, or was not asking you for more than you're able to do, and things like that. So and we understand, and that life has a lot of things popping up for everybody. So anyway, so let's, Juwon, why don't you go ahead and
yes, I did want to speak a little bit about the last point that Seyi made. Is also like again, I understand that solving like technical problems or like building things, especially for people who are doing it for the first time, can be very challenging. So again, I think like communication will be very key. Communicating with the project managers, for instance, when maybe a size of a task is too big, like Seyi mentioned, because he and I actually kind of like came up with that solution last week where we're talking about, even though there might be a big task that you have to complete maybe in a day or two, but there might be ways that you're able to break it down, into little snippets where it's then easier to complete. And also like having that two-way dialogue. Always feel free to reach out if you have a particular challenge, maybe with a project manager. But I feel like the first way is to try and even resolve it, with that manager. And if then you're unable to get through, then, feel free to escalate, and then, we'll take care of it. But again, like, try to communicate first at that level, because in as much as, we want to complete the projects and we want to like make sure everyone is, make sure like the projects are successful, the success of the participant is, the ultimate thing. And if you're not successful, it really doesn't matter if the project is successful at the end of the day, because like Mike and Seyi have reiterated, we don't want to leave anybody behind. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. So questions from YouTube or the Slack channel?
Yeah, I think we should probably start off with the Slack channel.
Yeah, we had some questions even from yesterday. People had queued up some things. So let's see. I'm reading one from Maya, and she's a UX designer.
I think it's more of a comment than a question.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, she has a once I feel more comfortable, can I jump into another future cohort? Well, yes, we are always inviting people. If you do leave this current cohort, you are always invited to come back. And we don't have a fixed date yet for when our next cohort is. Hopefully it will be, by about the end of the year, we'll start another one. And we also are planning to do other styles of training programs as well. So, and I think in particular, people who were really beginners had struggled the most with our program because it was quite fast and went through a lot of the basics really early. So in our future cohorts, well, we're going to be offering alternative programs for training people who are really just more beginners. That will also be available as well. So go ahead.
So, okay, yeah, Lilani asked a question regarding, the differences between the project phase and the internship phase. Also, how many hours the participants are expected to dedicate to each of the phases, if it's still 15 hours a week. And also, she was asking like if there'll be a whiteboarding prep or mock interviews with real people in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the last part first, is that we are going to do kind of recruiting training, resume training, and interview training as well. But that's probably only going to happen for people who are in the internship phase. So Seyi, did you want to talk about the expected hours?
Okay, that's a little hard to answer, but I think if you can put in 15 hours per week, I think you should be fine, depending on the kind of task you get. So if you know you have limited time, you can request for more suitable task for your time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little hard because, even as a professional, sometimes I say I'll be done with this thing in 2 hours and it takes me 2 days. So it's hard to decide how long you need to dedicate. You just have to try to deliver on the assigned task. So
yeah, that is really key. And I think it's like everything in life, you get out of it what you put into it. So I think what Seyi is saying is that if you can put in 15 hours a week, you will be able to meaningfully contribute and get something out of this phase of the program. But you might have to say, like, some tasks are you're not making enough progress to be able to complete them on the expected time. You're going to need additional help. Yeah, having the time, I don't know, as a working engineer, you sometimes, you hit deadlines and you go like, oh man, I've got to really put in a lot of hours on this, and because it's not coming together fast enough. So that's just the reality. And we are building things that are new, that have never been done before, each project has its own kind of unique things. It's not just a cookie cutter thing. So there are, although your instructors will guide you in like making sure that you're going down the right path of how to best architect your applications and things like that. So hopefully you won't hit too many snags that are like really unknowns. Good answer. Thanks, Seyi.
Okay, so to answer the other question, the difference between the project phase and the internship phase. The project phase is just like the internship phase, but you don't get assigned dedicated technical support for internship phase. So there are people that you can reach out to, but they are not dedicated to you. So it means it takes longer for them to get to you. And another thing is, you would be required to find answers on your own a lot during the internship phase. You would have to use Google a lot. You have to use Stack Overflow a lot. You have to watch videos on your own. You have to improve on your skills on finding the right solution for the problem you are experiencing. You will not get too many things to build, but every now and then you will need to make a search on your own online. So those are the main differences between the project and the internship phase. Another thing is you might be moved from one team to another in the internship phase, like transferred to another department. You might be required to work with those we are going to be having that will simulate CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and so on. So it's going to be like you're working in the actual company and you are interacting with stakeholders, you're explaining your thought process to them, you are representing the product to people, you are able to describe the product to them properly. Those are the some differences between the project and internship phase.
Okay, so you got a lot more kind of support right now, like people who can kind of help you with how to do your job or how to do that thing, but you're going to be a little bit more on your own in the internship phase. Okay, that makes sense. And go ahead.
Chris. Oh, no. I didn't know you weren't done yet. I wanted to.
I think I'm done. I think I'm rambling on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So Pia had a question about she said phase 2 was supposed to start weeks ago and it kind of started late. So now that that has happened, does the program get extended beyond the initial 7 months?
Well, that's a good question. I guess, we have tried to allocate. I think it probably has. We allocated a certain kind of number of weeks, and we did have a buffer for some transition between phase 1 and phase 2. It still feels like it's kind of approximately 7 months to me, although we might have slipped a couple weeks so far. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're going to obviously try to keep the remaining part of the program on track as much as we can. But like Shay said, we have fallen a little bit behind on phase 2, so we'll have to kind of see how it plays out. Are we able to complete everything?
Okay, April also had a question about project reviews. She says, will there be individual projects and team project and portfolio review before the bootcamp comes to an end? And then will there be help and support, for those who probably don't have jobs yet after the program concludes?
Yeah, I think we will probably be doing stuff because one of our goals is that we're going to be individually talking with everybody about their kind of recruiting process. We are talking to companies already who are interested in our graduates and want to see their resumes, want to look at what they've done and interview them. And so that whole process will be happening before we finish. And our goal is to get everybody who wants a job in the industry and to work as hard as we can to kind of highlight your skills and strengths or get you a job or an internship. So we will be doing all those things.
Great. So Zayed, and I think this is probably a Shay question. He says, I know phase 2 is roughly 2 months as stated on the website. So will the phase include working on multiple projects, or would you only be assigned to one?
I mean, like I explained, you'll be assigned to one, but you might be contracted by other teams. So some people will work on multiple projects and some will just work on one, depending on availability and how fast you're able to deliver on task. Yeah.
Yeah, but each team that was set up is designed to be like that, create an 8-week project and complete that.
Yeah, at least one project will be completed by
Yeah.
each person.
Yeah, you might bounce around if you're like one of the rock star people in the program and can help multiple projects, but yeah, this is really like a single project period. I think even getting that complete is still quite an accomplishment, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. JK has some really good questions. It says, hi, first, thank you for this discussion opportunity. My questions are: one, how are the projects graded? Two, what happens if despite my best efforts, my group doesn't finish its product by the deadline? And three, please outline exactly what phase 3 will entail.
Okay, I should probably take that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the projects will be graded based on the required features. So you have a document that outlines everything you're expected to build. During presentation, you present the project, we'll test it. If you find bugs, we will inform you, we fix those bugs. But I mean, there is no grading of pass or fail not in the sense of what we had during the training, where you get 20% or 50%. We just test your features and give you feedback, and you fix them. And but anyone that is able to complete the project phase automatically passes. So there's no way to fail a project as long as you keep working on the feedback you get. That's I would like to put that there. And the second question says,
what happens if despite my best efforts? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen to anyone, but if it happens, we.
Uh-oh, we lost your video stream and audio. There you no. Okay, so we lost Seyi for a little bit. Why don't we keep going and maybe he'll call back in. Yeah, so I think what he's about to say is, if it does happen, like we're going to be looking at your contributions. We can tell what everyone's individual contributions are, and if you're doing the things that you said that were assigned to you, and I think you're going to be promoted. The last part about phase 3 is that it is similar to the project phase, except with less kind of direct support from mentors in those technical areas and stuff like that. So it's going to be, as much as we can, kind of simulate like a real work environment where you are working with a group to create a project, but without necessarily having a lot of extra help. You'll have some experienced people to work with, but it'll be a kind of less in degree. So
just to add to that, there was something that Seyi mentioned, and hopefully when we get him back, he can speak a little more to that. Is that like the setup in terms of like the project phase is just meant to be solely focused on building things, whereas there's some soft skills and even some external skills like marketing and starting to think about, because we understand that some people will take these skills and maybe go start a startup or build something, and we want to be able to like optimize people for success and whether they're pursuing a career or building a business, to be able to be successful in whatever endeavor it is that they do. And that is pretty much what the internship phase is is going to really focus on, to help people kind of like get ready for the future after the program.
Yeah. All right, so continuing on with questions, Linda asked.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we answered this, but just to repeat, she asked about the project phase. Like I said, about 200 people have almost 200 people have started the project or joined project teams, and then we are sorry, got distracted by going thing on the screen, and but people can still work on their courses if you're not doing that. But we don't have a project teams for you to work on after your courses are complete at this time. But please do contact me or when you do kind of get to that point and finish, and we will work to see if there's something we can do to kind of help you, continue on in what's going to be best path for you to continue on. Yeah, even though we haven't been able to get you to do the main part of the the project phase stuff. So go ahead. Let's see.
Yeah, Sophia had a really great question on YouTube about should we be building personal projects on the side in terms of being able to get hired after the program?
I think those are always helpful. And when I was doing interviewing, and I would look at the passion that people had if they had their own personal projects, side projects. Those always impressed me a lot, and the amount of work that people would put into those. So, but that being said, there's a lot going on with those project teams, and I wouldn't want you to sacrifice your contribution to project team work, at the expense of doing some personal projects. So, please do make sure that you're giving enough time to your teams before. Don't think that you need to be splitting your time between teams and individual project stuff.
Okay.
Shay is coming back, so we'll see how his connection is.
Okay, yeah, because I was actually looking for questions that don't involve in answering. Okay.
Shay, we can't hear you yet. I don't know how your connection is.
Hi, sorry about that. It just went off. Can you hear me now?
All right. Well, we finished that question, so we're just going on to other questions, I think. So, yeah, I think we've kind of gone through most of the ones on Slack. Maybe we need to go through YouTube questions now.
Yes.
There's a lot of chatting going on there. So
yeah, it's really hard to. Okay, so yeah, someone was asking if testing was mostly going to fall on individual coders prior to submitting pull requests, or are the technical supervisors going to be doing more rigorous testing behind the scenes?
Yeah, Shay, how does testing play into these projects?
So it's two ways actually. As the person working on the project, you are supposed to test your feature, and the TS would also be testing. Project manager will be testing. And I would test occasionally too. So we just try as much as possible to give you all the feedback that we can give you on that particular thing you worked on.
Are we using any sort of?
Sorry about this. I'm still trying to fix my internet.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can hear you. So, are we using any sort of continuous integration to actually enforce certain tests passing before code is allowed to be merged?
Right. So we are not writing tests. We are not practicing test-driven development. So no, we don't have any CI or anything like that right now. Everything is done manually. But we'll be doing that during the internship. I feel like it might be a little too soon to start asking them to do that now. So we'll be doing that during the internship.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So So for most real life teams, you will have a set of tests that protect the integrity of the main line of the repository, and make sure that no code can get in there that breaks those tests. So, but we're not in this context. We're not doing that quite yet. We might be doing that later.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions, Juwon?
No, I think we've covered most of it. Yeah, no, all of it actually, because some of them were.
I'm still seeing
Okay,
some. Let's see. Someone was asking about having access to design documentation, and they were not feeling like they were working on the back end, but they were not seeing the designers work. So, I would assume the solution to that is that, like, all the design documents should be shared across all the parts of the team. Shay, like Figma links and things like that.
Yes, that's the case. I mean, if you can't find it, you can ask your project manager or any of the CS available. But yes, you should have access to all the documents and design pages.
Yeah, and someone said that on Asana, people are showing up as quote unquote private user, so they don't see like a real name associated with somebody, and it's kind of hard to form a like a teammate relationship with that. Is that something that people have in their settings or something that they need to be fixing?
I I really have not noticed that, but I'll check it and see if
Okay,
there's a way to fix it.
okay. Yeah, so some people said, yeah, some tasks depend on other people finishing their tasks, and it makes it difficult for them to do their task. So I would say in general, that sort of problem is it will come up. And there are techniques that you can use. Uh, there are techniques you can use to kind of get around that, and there you might investigate the idea of like using mocks or mock implementations. Like if your code depends on somebody else's code, you can create these mock interfaces for their code and then write your code to use those mock implementations. You can still make it work and test it, and can just kind of make like a baby version of what it is you expect the upstream interface that you need to use is. So you might consider doing that if you're blocked on what somebody else is supposed to be doing, or just ask your project manager to rearrange the task orders so that you're not assigned something that you can't yet work on. Let's see. You see anything else, Juwon? Oh, you said you kind of.
Yeah, I didn't even know where you saw those questions.
Oh, I'm scrolling. I'm in the interface in YouTube on all the chat questions. So,
Oh.
but maybe I see a different list because I'm on as the stream meister.
Yeah, and Mike, okay, maybe this is not so much of a question, but I do see a really interesting comment about somebody saying that they've dedicated 7 weeks and they're not leaving. They really want to finish up, and I was wondering if there might be something that, even though like it's not necessarily the project phase, but if we are able to like dedicate some resource to just helping people, because at this point you can't get on a team project anymore, but
Yeah.
can we still have some pointers towards something that somebody like that is able to build, so that they still have something to show for their participation in this program?
Yeah. Well, I that's kind of what I was trying to say before, is that like, yeah, we don't yet have like a fixed plan. And the number of people, I'm not clear like how many people are in this category. So I can envision several things happening. Is that maybe we help people select some like individual projects that they can do, and still provide mentors for them to help you with your individual projects, to add to your portfolio. And if maybe one or more of you is available at the same time and want to work together, you can kind of make a little mini team or something. So please do like contact us when, I think we'd like you to finish the coursework in your track though, just like as make sure that you've got the set of skills that you wanted to acquire to start with. And, but we might be able to do something kind of more bespoke for the people that are in that category. So,
Yeah, I think it'll probably be useful to maybe I can either, and I'll speak to Seyi about this. If we could either set up like maybe a simple Google form or something in the LMS to just kind of like get the data on like how many people, because I think it'll be useful to know how many people are in this category, and like what are they working on, and what stage of the program are they currently in, and what kind of support we need to give them to get over the line, and also give us an idea like what kind of projects we can then assign to them, seeing like based on the numbers and other things like that. So yeah, I'll set that up.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. And I think, but again, like making sure that it's people who have actually completed the coursework, phase, because that's still available to everybody if you're behind. finish out your coursework. So that's probably the number one thing to be doing. We have Charisse waiting to talk to us on Zoom. I don't know, I'll invite her to come in here. She has a question. Let's see, go through some other things here. Oh yeah, as far as like signing up for the next cohort, we haven't really been like, other than just probably sending you mail that you hopefully, I don't know, Shade, like, is our system for setting up for the when we get people signing up for the next cohort, we send a mail saying, you know, they're on a wait list, right? Something like that.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I think we still have a lot to plan before the next one. But
Yeah, we have a big backlog of
Yeah.
people who've signed up for the next cohort. So yeah, I'm sorry, we haven't communicated very much with them because we don't yet know what the plan is. Yeah. Charisse, did you have a question? You're muted right now.
Okay, I'm muted. Not right now. I know I am behind, so I'm trying to debate. I'm out for the summer, so I don't really have to work.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back and look and see if I can get caught up. I'm on week 4. So
okay.
Yeah, so I don't go back to work until August 23rd. So
yeah, keep working on the coursework and yeah, we're still helping students that are working on lessons as well. So yeah, that's a great use of your time.
Okay. All right.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll be checking in with you from time to time when I start working on it again.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Feel free to contact me directly or whatever. So yeah, nice.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I think, well, we're kind of done with the hour. And hopefully we've answered most of the questions. If you haven't gotten an answer to a question, please do reach out to myself. You can send mail to info@reskillamericanscom.org. You can send me a Slack or Shay a Slack message, a DM on Slack, or a message on Asana if you're working on that. So any final words from either you guys? Juwon first, maybe.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, keep keep going at it. I know that you guys have what it takes. You guys have shown tremendous, like, I've completely been blown away by just the amount of like dedication that people are putting into this. And I'm really excited to see what everybody builds at the end of the day.
Shay? I see a frozen video and muted microphone. So maybe Shay's not there. He's gone. Okay. Yeah, so I would just say, yes, thank you for your patience. I know that, I don't know, some of you know that I got sick a week ago too. And it's like, that really knocked me down a lot. And so I haven't yet kind of transitioned myself mentally over to the new phase 2 stuff very much either. So, but I'm starting to feel a lot better. So anyway, but just to let you know a little bit about that. And I think our communication was in the transition was sometimes a little bit challenging because we were changing tools and things like that. And so I'm sorry if some of you didn't know what was going on right now. So hopefully this hour was helpful to kind of catch everybody up and know what is actually happening. Shay's back on. I don't know if you want to have any final words. All I heard was like a sigh or something. I don't know what that was. Yeah, your internet connection isn't doing well. So Shay, I will just pass on, which I'm sure is
not really.
Okay.
But I mean, this has been good, and I hope that
Yeah, sorry, your audio was out. I heard you say like, I think best wishes to people, and I hope your experience is good, and I'm sure you're inviting people to reach out to them. So anyway, we'll go ahead and finish it here. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I hope you found that informative, and have a great luck with that, whatever part of the program you're in right now. So, all right, thank you, Juwon. Thank you, Seyi.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.